All right, what's up, everybody? 2006. That is the day. A long time ago. This is the last time the Bucs played in a playoff game. And conveniently enough, it was also against Washington under a different name back then. I'm sure we all know. But that is the last time that the Bucs have played in a playoff game. January 7th of 2006, a home wildcard game that they lost to Washington 17-10. The key play that I don't know if anyone even remembers that game. Of course, as a Buc fan, I do. 17-10, Bucs were driving at the end of the game under Chris Sims at quarterback, and Warren caught the ball. And you can't see me, so I haven't shifted the scene yet, but in quotes, caught the ball. Was ruled a touchdown on the field initially, but the replay overturned it because he did not continue with the catch process in the end zone. Anywhere else on the field, it would have been a touchdown, but that was back when the NFL didn't know what a catch was, not like they do now. And it was ruled incomplete, thus the Bucs lose the game. But I mean, most Buc fans will tell you Warren caught the ball. It's a depressing game for a lot of reasons, because the Bucs held Washington's offense in that game to 120 yards. They did nothing. They passed for 41 yards in that game. They literally could not move the ball. Turnovers, a fumble return by Sean Taylor, and was it an interception, and I want to say another fumble, but I know for sure the interception Arrington had. Set up a short TD run by Portis, and they got behind early like Tampa tends to do. They got down 14-0, and they fought back, but they couldn't overcome. Games are never easy as a Buc fan. That's the last time the Bucs were in, and that was near the end of Gruden's time in Tampa as well. Which you may not know is they have played before in the playoffs. It's actually be the third time they've played. They split. The first time they played was the 99-2000 season, when the Bucs faced them in the divisional playoff round. The game before, they played the Rams in the conference championship, and they were down in that game 13-0, and they came back and won, being headed by Sean King. If you remember, trip down memory lane, Trent Dilfer got injured, out for the season. Sean King replaced him, helped get the Bucs into the playoffs, and they got behind early. Not exactly a great game for Sean King, but hey, 15 for 32, 157, a TD, and an interception. Little did they know they'd be facing their future quarterbacks on the other side. Brad Johnson, 20 for 32, a $149, and an interception. But TD pass to John Davis midway through the fourth quarter, and as usual would be the case, the Bucs defense would hold at the end there, 14-13. They tried to win the conference championship game 6-5, just couldn't get done. Maybe we'll get to talk about a game against the Rams soon. But that's where we're at now. And now, tomorrow, or I guess today, when you'll be seeing it, the Bucs will be playing with Tom Brady under center and see if they can get their first playoff win since the Super Bowl season in 2002. With that said, let's actually talk about this game. So, coming in, the Bucs 11-5. Obviously, Washington won the division. The only way anyone from that division was going to make the playoffs, and much debate over that Eagles-Washington game, the way it ended, Peterson. But nonetheless, Washington wins the game. They're in the playoffs. They get a home game. I don't believe there are going to be fans there, and with all that's going on, it was not going to get postponed. I think that got said multiple times, so maybe increase security outside. I don't see anything, causing interference or anything with the game, and that's what we're going to have. A night game, something the Bucs have not done well this year. Their primetime games, winless. Not winless, not performed well, because they had the Giants. They did beat the Giants. They lost to the Bears. Everyone remembers Brady not remembering what down it was, and then they lost to the Rams. Playoff games, or against playoff teams, Bucs also not done well. They have a win against the Packers. They lost to every other team that they played that is a playoff team. The Saints, twice. A drubbing in that second one. The Chiefs. The Rams. The Bears. So against good competition, they have not played well. In terms of outcome, They haven't won the games. If you take away the Saints games, they don't look as bad, close losses to those other teams, but they're still losses. Getting behind early, having to fight back, and just not able to get enough done at the end to win the game. Washington 7-9, they're a really different team because you look at the record, what is not looked at is what they are under Alex Smith. And I believe under his starts, they are 5-1. So 7-9, but then your quarterback is 5-1. You have to take Haskins out that equation, take the backup quarterback Hinkie out the equation as well. And they look like a little bit of a different team. I'm sure you've seen on the meetings, I know a lot of you watch ESPN or other sporting websites and shows, and you can see that they definitely better on third down under Alex Smith. They put up more points under Alex Smith. They're more efficient of an offense under Alex Smith. It's going to be a tougher matchup than people think. I think a lot of people kind of expect Tampa to walk over them just because of how bad the division is. But when you get in a one-game situation, a lot of stuff can happen. So I want to take a look at a couple of things. So I have some notes here on the side. Let's pull it up and let's talk. First of all, the injury report. Carlton Davis, our number one corner. Game time decision. Everyone has their fingers crossed that he can play, not just that he can play, but that he can play effectively. We don't have, in my opinion, a lot of depth at corner because you have Sean Murphy, Bunting, and then everyone's favorite Buccaneer corner, Jamel Dean, who has not played well. He's played better since coming back off the injury, but man, he was getting picked on a lot. That Saints game, that second one, is horrible tape. If he was a free agent, I feel like you would put that tape on in front of his agent and it would definitely drive his value down for sure. He is probably going to play a big role in this game. I just have a hunch that Davis is not going to be 100%. And Dean's going to have to play well because he's going to be challenged and picked on. Devin White, we already know, tested positive for COVID, 10 days, day 10, he's not going to be able to play. You know, a lot of Bucs fans are hoping the game would be on Sunday. The Bucs are never going to get a favor from the NFL, and that it doesn't happen. We're just that team. So we kind of knew that White wouldn't be able to play. It is what it is. That is a big loss for those that didn't know. He did make second team All-Pro though, or All-Pro. I'll say Pro Bowl All-Pro with Levante David. So props to those guys, but not having one of your best defensive players, and not just one of your best defensive players, but one of your leaders, the emotional leaders of the team, that's going to be a huge loss. Buchanan, Minter, we'll see what you can do in their absence, but whatever they can give you is not going to be what Devin White has, and he's an impact player, so that's going to be a big loss for Tampa Bay. Evans, we all know, game time decision. I do expect him to be able to play. To what extent, no one knows. We'll find out. If he cannot play, obviously, you have Antonio Brown, you have Chris Godwin, you have Gronk, you have Cameron Brate, you have Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson as well in the slots. We have enough offensive weapons. Evans is a big loss still. It's a matchup problem, especially when you get in the red zone. So it does change, I think, schematically some of the things that we may do. But we'll see. They still have enough weapons that even without him, they should still be able to put up points. One that I'm going to say is a bigger loss than people may look at, LaShawn McCoy. McCoy is not playing. He's sick. He is ruled out today. And we already don't have, I believe Barner, Vaughn, I can't remember which one now. But you're having Jones coming off, he's coming off of injury. He played last week. He's going to play this week. And you have Leonard Fournette. McCoy's a big one because McCoy is our best back in third downs because he can pick up the blitz and he has the best hands of the running backs on the team. You're looking at Leonard Fournette as being the guy that's going to catch the ball out the backfield. He has the most drops of any running back in the NFL. Almost set the record for most drops by a running back in a season. That's a big one, especially if you paid attention to Tom Brady's career. He loves to check down the ball. Hard to check down the ball when you have a guy that can't catch. So we're going to see what we get out of the running back position. That is something I'm going to be keeping my eyes on in this game. Obviously, from Washington's standpoint, Davis injured. I always feel bad because he's such a good dude, great leader, but he's injured. He's ruled out. Their number one receiver and their running back, Gibson, McLaurin, they're both injured. Smith injured as well. talks of there maybe being a 2-quarterback system. How much can Alex give? We're going to see. But I don't know who's going to be playing for them and how effectively they're going to be able to play. I do know that we get Shaq Barrett back. So even though we don't have White, getting Barrett back, so that establishes both sides of the pass rush for us. Him on one side, JPP on the other side. Get after that quarterback. So let's talk about some numbers here before I actually get into what I think is going to play out, how this game's going to play out. You have Washington defensively, because everyone's talking about the offense versus defense. So let's talk about some things. The Bucs defensively, which I think get lost in this matter. They actually are a top 10 defense, and you look at it in terms of yards per game, you look at that points. I think that gets lost on a lot of people because Washington has an elite defense statistically. Ours is not far behind. So again, points. Washington is 4th at 20.6 points allowed. The Bucs 8th, 22.2. Washington, definitely their strength is their pass defense. They are 2nd in terms of yardage. The Bucs are definitely not. They're a middle of the pack team. But rushing, we are number 1. That is the Bucs' strength, as they stop the run. So Gibson, I think they've only allowed one 100-yard rusher this season, and that was Cook, and it was kind of hard to stop him because, let's just be honest, Minnesota runs the hell out of the ball. Washington is a little more towards 13, 14, so towards the middle of the pack. And we look at it in terms of total yardage, Washington's 2nd, Tampa Bay is 6th. Looking at offense, the one thing that makes this kind of tough to judge is because of Alex Smith. Completion percentage. I'm just going to go speak in totality here. Both teams, well, again, Haskins brings it down. They're in the upper part of the bottom third. The Bucs are middle of pack completion percentage. We know it's because they throw the ball deep a lot in terms of passing yards. They are number 2. Obviously, Kansas City with Mahomes is number 1. Probably not a surprise to anyone. Washington is near the bottom. Rushing, well, we're just going to ignore rushing. Let's not talk about that. That one looks a little different. Bucs do struggle to run the football. Washington is definitely better. One thing that I did want to point out that was important to me in terms of coming into this game is the quarterback rating. Tampa is 9th in terms of quarterback rating. Washington is 28th, sorry. But part of that, again, is because you have to look at Haskins played and you have a backup quarterback playing, so it makes it a little tough to judge. And then sacks. As much as I talk about the Bucs not being able to block, and their issue up front is the offensive line, in terms of the weakness of the team, one of the weaknesses of the team, they did allow 4th most sacks. So that is something to keep an eye on. So I think that's something that everyone is going to be looking at going into this game. So let's talk what happens. So I don't want this video to be forever long. Everyone's looking at Chase Young and Montez Sweat on the outside. Donovan Smith, man, Buccaneer fans have just been roasting this man all year for obvious and legit reasons. So he is obviously going to be one of the players that you have to keep an eye on as a Buc fan. He's going to be able to impact the game, because if he does not play well, that's going to be outside pressure. It's not so much the outside pressure and the sacks that I'm looking at it. It's the potential, like when you get the fumbles, they come from the outside, the strip sacks, turnovers. Bucs cannot turn the ball over, do not help Washington out. They've had issues offensively, do not make it easy for them at all, giving them short field position. So Donovan Smith is going to have to play a good game. He will be watched. He's one of the keys to the game, in my opinion. The other one is Jonathan Allen on Washington's side. So when you look at historically how you are able to stop or limit Tom Brady's success in the passing game, everyone thinks of the Von Millers, of Suggs on the outside. And Dwight Freeney, while those guys were effective and could definitely impact the game, that's not the problem. The problem is the rush up the middle, the defensive tackles and nose tackles, because it collapses the pocket and pushes him back and doesn't allow him to step into his throws. Washington with Jonathan Allen plays a big role, because if he can get in Brady's face and push that pocket back, it also pushes Tom back and allows those defensive ends to be able to get to him a little easier, instead of, oh, they can get pressure from the outside, he can just step up into the pocket and still get the ball out. So Jonathan Allen is definitely one player to watch on Washington's side from a Buck fan perspective. 2, the Buccaneers secondary. So I already said Jamel Dean is going to be a guy that you have to watch, but if Carlton Davis doesn't play, Dean is going to be starting on the outside. He's played better on the outside actually than he has in the slot. But regardless, wherever he goes, you have to watch him. I feel like people will pick on him in terms of offensive coordinator, because he's a guy that does not necessarily, some players are instinctive, like they know what to do, they know what to do. He is more of a, it seems more like he's guessing where to go, and when you guess wrong, things go bad. This is still a really young secondary. Winfield's played really well. Davis has played well, minus the Kansas City game, but I mean, one-on-one with Hill, what do you expect? That secondary is still scary. If Washington can expose them in terms of getting time, taking care of the front 7, and being able to get into those deeper routes and those intermediate routes with space, the secondary could have some problem. So the offensive line, obviously people are looking at that for the Bucs being an issue potentially with Washington's good front, because they can just rush 4 and drop 7 back. But the Bucs have enough weapons that they can, as long as they hold up, they can still get things done. Defensively, you have to get to Alex quick, collapse that pocket, force quick decisions so it doesn't put the secondary in bad situations. Lastly, the biggest thing that I'm looking at in terms of a player making an impact is Ronald Jones. Coming off an injury to the hand, you're always worried about ball security because of fumbles, but the Bucs need to be able to run the ball. 1, to be able to run play action and be successful. 2, to be able to take some of the pressure off. They've been running screens with Antonio Brown, which is nice because it helps negate some of that pressure. For whatever reason, they can't seem to block for running back screens. Still don't understand why this is an issue for the Bucs. It just drives me nuts, because you think that as an offensive lineman, it shouldn't be hard to figure out how you're supposed to get out and block on screens. They don't do it very well. Donovan Smith, again, looking at you. Kappa as well. Secondly, their production in the pass game. There is no LaShawn McCoy, so they need to chip, pick up the blitz effectively, and they have to catch the ball. They're going to have opportunities to make plays in the passing game. It's not so much that you're looking at, I need, 4 catches, 40 yards, big plays. I need you to catch the ball to stay in 2nd and manageable, stay on schedule, 3rd and manageable. Got to have those catches. You don't go from 1st and 10 to a check down for 3 yards and then don't get it. Now it's 2nd and 10 when it could have been 2nd and, potentially 5 or 6. You make a move here, get some extra yards, and help your offense out. Help open up what you can do in terms of a play caller. It's really important that they catch the ball, and they have not done that well. So I'll be watching that. Final score. My perspective is everyone's looking at Washington's defense, Tampa's offense. Rightfully so. Tampa has one of the best passing offenses in the league. Washington has one of the best passing defenses in the league. A lot of people are going to focus on that and look at that, as they should. But my key in terms of the unit matchup is going to be the Bucs defense against Washington's offense. They're a little banged up, Washington. We don't know who is going to play at quarterback. I do assume Smith will play, and Gibson and McLaurin will give whatever they have as well, so I expect them to play. But defensively, Barrett, JPP, Levante David, the front 7 have got to do a good job. You have to stop the run, force them to pass the ball, and get after the quarterback. If they're able to do that, whether they force turnovers or not, you're winning field position. You're giving Tom an opportunity to do what he needs to do on the other side of the ball. That said, it's going to be closer than I think people expect. Everyone's expecting a blowout. I'm thinking it's going to be a lower scoring game. I see this game being 24-13. A Bucs score late to put it away. The Bucs advance to the 2nd round. Fingers crossed. So I know all of you will see this a little bit before the game. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your Sunday. I will be streaming before the Bucs go live. Kind of a catharsis, so I can just calm myself down before the game, I guess. And then we'll stream after, play some Final Fantasy, get back into RPGs on Saturday, and hopefully I can do it with a smile on my face. Regardless, I'm proud of this team. It's been a long time since they made the playoffs. I'm so happy for guys like Mike Evans, Ali Marpet, Levante David especially. That's my favorite player, that they finally get the opportunity to play in the playoffs. They played so well. They're finally getting that chance to play, and they really do deserve it. So, go Bucs. I hope that you guys are able to get a win. We'll go from there. So that said, I will see you all later on, before and after on Saturday. Enjoy the football games. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. Just to throw it out there, I do predict that, well, I'll leave my predictions alone, probably put that on Twitter. That said, thanks for watching. We'll talk Bucs, go Bucs, and I will catch you later.